Welcome back to the Weekly Manga Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about all of your favorite ongoing Japanese manga. This week we are diving into the brand new romance series from Weekly Shonen Jump, Himaten, and we're going to quickly discuss a few other favorite modern romances, along with the new Four Head Girls manga, Mane Mane Nichi Nichi. And we're going to finish it off with our favorite cute little demon princess, Do. All that, manga news, and more coming right up. Hello again, my name is Bruce. I am the proprietor of the White Gray Black YouTube channel, and this week I am joined again by my constant co-host, Gautam.
Hello, hello.
All right, let's get right into Himaten by Genki Ono. This is the newest romance series from Weekly Shonen Jump. This has been a long time coming. This is essentially the first... Is this the first? No, I guess we had Blue Box, and then we had... What was it called?
You and I are polar opposites?
No, we had Tokyo Demon Bride story, which was like kind of a romance. That was kind of a weird middle ground between like third slice of life, third romance, third action. Like there was fights and stuff in that. But this one is like straight across the plate, rom-com. We'll talk a little bit about its inspirations / direct copying of some past stuff, but tell me, how'd you feel about Himaten Chapter 1? Did you read Chapter 1 and 2 or just 1?
I only read 1. Okay. I thought it was all right. It feels pretty old school, doesn't it? Like art wise.
Yes, I think art wise, I think idea wise, I think if this was published in 2006 or something, it would fit right in. I mean, and I guess we'll just get out of the way. This is essentially Nisekoi. Like, this is like a combination of Nisekoi and Toradora, which were both sort of like mid-early 2000s romance series. I think Toradora was published like, I think it was maybe a light novel first, but it was published 2008 or 9, maybe that anime came out. Maybe a little later than that.
It is
maybe
very Toradora-esque in like our MC here. But yeah, I thought it was in a pretty all right series. I think my issues with it is that like the setup is every setup in the universe, right?
Yes, I think this is wholly unoriginal, but still, from what I have seen, regardless of our personal opinions on it, the reception that I have seen to this from the Weekly Shonen Jump people, who that's kind of like all they read, has been overwhelmingly positive, I would say, because
really?
I think because I think that people are desperate for this in Weekly Shonen Jump, right? I think people want, 1 or 2 romances a year, and they don't want everything to be an Exorcist Bleach clone, which is kind of what we've been getting. So yeah, and Tokyo Demon Bride story, like I said, kind of had a little bit of an identity crisis of, what is it? Is it fully a romance? This one is so easily identifiable. It's like, yes, I'm familiar with your game and I like it or I don't like it. So yeah, I think everyone's pretty bought into this. I'm in agreement with you that this is okay. I also kind of appreciate that, like, yeah, it's just a straightforward romance. But yeah, we can go through the chapter and discuss it a little bit beat by beat. So yeah, we mentioned Toradora. The reason we make that comparison is this is our male MC, Tenichi Iemori, and he likes to clean things and be a house husband. That is kind of his personality trait, which is the same. I will say he's not as interesting as, what's the... Ryuji, yeah. I was like, he has something with Ryu because he's a dragon.
I think I think that like the main character is interesting, but I think visually he is incredibly boring.
He is generic MC 101. Like, this is like, would you like to see how to draw a shonen main character, especially a romance one? Like, yeah, he has no identifying anything, which that does bother me, I think, because the exciting thing about Ryuji, I guess, was that like yes, he was this house husband type of guy, and he was like, a golden retriever boyfriend, I guess you might say, but also like he had the like gangster eyes, and he was like 6'5" or whatever, and so everyone was like afraid of him and thought he was a bad dude, which like gave him more personality to play off of. So this is just like a normal nice guy in school. He's the class rep. Like, okay, this is like the perfect man. Like literally, they have developed the perfect man. Like, he cleans, he cooks, he's the class rep in school, he's nice. Like, there's nothing wrong with this dude right now.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. And it's an unenviable position to get compared to Toradora, because
that's like, it's a very good one.
On top of that, like, yeah, Ryuji's very visually interesting. He also has like that tick where he plays with his hair whenever he's nervous. It's like Toradora does a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Toradora's one of the best.
I think this character's personality gets to shine through just his interactions and his dialogue. But the first few pages are very much setting him up to be like kind of a golden boy. Yeah.
I think the tension here is going to essentially come from this guy being like, I've got my life put together. I'm straight laced. I clean and I do everything right. And the girl's going to be like a bit more of a mess. And that feel, especially from chapter 2, which, chapter 2 is out. He like does the cleaning. There's some kind of standard awkward stuff. Still pretty good, but yeah, that's essentially where the tension is coming from, right? She's a little bit more of the slob, the hard worker. She doesn't have time to clean, so he kind of picks it up. Here's a girl that in, I'm going to say 3, 4, maybe 5 weeks, everyone will be like, this is best girl. Why isn't he with her? This is the, who was the girl from Nisekoi that everyone was like, oh, she should have won? Because
I haven't read Nisekoi.
Spoilers for like a 15-year-old series, but the blonde girl wins in Nisekoi at the end, and everyone thought that the dark-haired girl should have won. Onodera,
this is definitely the... Oh yeah, I think that's it. I think that's right. You're right, but you're right though. This is definitely the easily identifiable loser character who will come to love the MC and then lose.
Yeah, not loser in that she's like not a successful person. Loser as in she will be a part of a love triangle and she will lose inevitably. I think that's true. And she's like the childhood. Like this is like beat for beat Nisekoi almost, right? Like Nisekoi is like a guy who kind of has his shit together, like a girl who's like a wild and crazy, transfer student who's blonde. I think this girl's redhead, but comes in, the like dark-haired childhood friend also has a crush on him. Like beat for beat, this is Nisekoi. So that has to be stated because it like absolutely is. But yeah, I mean, I don't. This is like a very typical thing. It's like they go to school. She's the transfer student. At least they don't do. I will give the author credit for this. I was fully expecting the like, oh, nobody knows that the transfer girl is the this makeup princess that we're kind of introduced to at the first pages of the chapter. And I'm glad that they didn't do that. That everyone is immediately like, oh, it's her. She's the schoolgirl who is the president of her own company who does makeup. And there wasn't this like, I have to keep it secret that I'm this makeup guru or whatever. I was expecting that, right? I was expecting like there'll be tension to like keep her, it's usually they're like, oh, she's a high school model and people need to not know. And she has a slightly different name, right? Like her name is.
But see, I know we're sidestepping that generic plot line, but what we have instead is her secret is that she's a messy person, right?
Yeah, which is not. Yeah, and
like,
I think
low stakes, I guess.
Yeah, well, and I think that hits on. And I made a post on Twitter, I think, about this, but that hits on, I think, like my biggest issue with this, especially just in the first 2 chapters. Now, granted, that's not much, especially for a romance, is that essentially that these two sort of like, they aren't instantly in love with each other, which is kind of one angle, or one of them doesn't instantly have like a massive crush on the other. So there isn't that kind of like, oh, one of them really likes the other, but will the other one return the feelings? That's like a tension in romance often. And there also isn't the tension of like, I don't know, there's just like not a whole lot of tension around like their negative traits because the guy doesn't have any and the girl's only negative trait is she's like a little messy, not even like really messy. Like let's get to her house and it's like, it's kind of messy, but like, that's not that bad. Like, it isn't like.
It's kind of bad, but it's like.
It's bad, but it isn't like, I don't know. I mean like.
It's like all of this can be cleaned in pretty fast, right? Like you just pick up the clothes and you put like all the crap in a garbage bag. It's not like disgusting.
Exactly. Yeah. And which I think like maybe even in Toradora, I feel like I remember what's her name's place being like even more disgusting than this, right? And her
Well,
like
Taiga had a lot of flaws. Like she was
exactly
genuinely like a neat, or like someone who's like, I don't care that it's messy and fuck you. And
and
I'll
her
live my
parental
life
stuff
however you want. Yeah.
and we learned about that later. So like in just the 2 chapters, what I am seeing is sort of a distinct lack of sources of tension, which it like means that there's no drama, which means that it's hard to be interested in the story. So I don't think that necessarily means that it's like a lost cause. I think that what I need from it as it goes on, at least in the next 6 chapters or so, I like to try to give everything a volume to read. Is that like tension needs to be introduced in some way, because right now there's no tension from them. Like they don't instantly have a crush on each other. Like the guy is sort of like, she's really pretty and she's really cool and she's successful and the guy is like, he has no flaws and he cleans. And so like, okay, maybe they like each other a little bit, but there's no overt, like, I'm desperately in love with her. How do I make her fall in love with me? There's like none of that angle. There's no tension from that. There's very little tension from the character flaws other than cleaning. But it's also like her character flaw is perfectly countered and like absolved by his like prowess of being a cleaner. So there's not really any tension there. So yeah,
that part kind of makes sense in that they're filling each other's gaps in terms of like whatever flaws they do have. But yeah, you're right. It's like it's all very low stakes. Their big secret that they're preserving is like nothing. If it got leaked, people will be like, "Oh, who cares?"
The secret is I clean your house. Like, oh, okay, like yeah. I mean, low stakes isn't even necessarily that. It's just like, and I've talked about this before, but like all storytelling relies on like some amount of tension. I mean, even something like K-On!, which is like one of my favorite anime series of all time, like every single episode has some tension built from like the girls need to raise money. Like, how are they going to raise money? That's a tension. How like, they can't, they need to practice. They got a sunburn. Like it's again, like you said, very low stakes tension, but there is tension. There's sources of tension sort of all over, even something like that. I'm worried about this one because it sort of like introduces a tension and then it just goes away. And that kind of happens in episode 2 also, like, or chapter 2, I mean, it's just kind of like, I hope the author knows that your story needs tension and you can't just resolve every tension instantly or else it will not be interesting.
I think they probably do know that. I think in the next few chapters we might see something, because I only say that because I think the reason I thought this was all right instead of generic boring bullshit is I thought the 2 main characters' dialogue with each other was pretty fun. Mm-hmm. They have
the facial expressions and art and stuff I think is really good too. Like on this right page here where they're like, So yeah, it's cute. It gets that part done.
To wrap up what I was thinking is I like the dialogue a lot. I think they go back and forth a decent amount, and I appreciate that they don't like each other. That part I did like, is that they don't dislike each other. They're just 2 neutral parties that are kind of linked together because the teacher, for some reason, asked this kid to babysit her, which is bizarre and a little bit forced. Another classic.
Hello, new transfer person. You are sitting next to the person you will be dating by the time this series ends. Like,
it's like kind of funny. Like the guy's like, "What? Why do I have to sit next to her?" It's like, bro, what's your deal?
Why do I have to sit next to the supermodel girl who owns her own company? Like, no.
It's like, don't freak out, man. It's like rude. A little rude to say that out loud.
I think you're absolutely right, though. I do think the series is the character dynamic stuff between them, especially in school. I thought the couple of scenes they have where they're kind of like going back and forth in school, and he kind of like rescues her, quote unquote, from like being mobbed and stuff. And when they talk about sort of like this, and like maybe this is the tension, right? They kind of introduce it here. Like she talks about like being the center of attention, finding out people buy my makeup makes me feel proud. Like she's glad that she's getting kudos for a job well done, and he talks immediately after about how like.
He likes being of use to people.
Yeah, he's like, I really like it when people can count on me. And so they're sort of like presenting like, I like being told I do good. And he's like, I like telling people.
This is too normal though. This is like
I agree. Yeah, but
because it's like, this is just humanity as a whole. It's like, of course we like validation and having our work praised, right? And
it's also kind of like
counted on.
Yeah, it's also sort of like chapter 1, we're kind of like learning about what they need, and then like by the end of chapter 2, they have provided that for each other. Like I'm not even kidding. It's like he's cleaned and told her she's doing a good job working hard, and she's like, thank you for cleaning for me. And so chapter 2 maybe has sort of recolored my feelings from chapter 1, because chapter 1 leaves it a little open-ended. Chapter 2 sort of like resolves everything from chapter 1. So
I think like one scene I did like though is when he said, oh crap, I didn't eat my lunch and it's your fault, and runs away. And I'm like, wow, that's incredibly unreasonable. And I respect it, because this is like the first kind of flaw that he's shown me, you know?
Yeah.
In that he's a kid. I don't know. I like people being unreasonable or weird in setups like this. If everyone is way too reasonable, we get another what is it? That flowers bloom with dignity.
Oh manga. Yeah, the fragrant flower blooms dignity, I think is what the English title. Yeah.
Yeah, which is people are overly reasonable. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, this is I'm gonna keep an eye on this. I like romance. I think this one is good enough. Just kind of state it finally one more time. I do think this series needs to introduce some stakes and some tension and keep them going. Some, I guess, long-term tension is what I need. Because, yeah, I mean, maybe the next chapter, the guy's like, I'm wildly in love with her, and how do I figure it out? And it's like, oh, okay, there's the tension. But because right now they've essentially like introduced tensions in chapter 1, resolved them in chapter 2. So
I don't know. I feel like the only part of this I like is that they don't like each other at the moment, you know?
Yeah.
Because
spoilers for you, Gautam. They are going to by the end.
Yeah, I know, and that's the appeal, right? They slowly
for sure.
learn to understand each other. But it's like they understand each other to a decent extent already. So it's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I guess we'll figure it out.
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder. I do appreciate that they didn't go with the, oh my God, she's gorgeous and she's like my perfect woman, or the like, oh, he cleaned for me, he's so good. Like, they have not gone for that. They are definitely sort of just like normal people getting to know each other, which I think is a like side effect of this kind of Reiwa era romance we've got, where, you know, stuff moves a little bit faster, but also is a little bit more, I would say, grounded. It isn't so much like a single party lusting after another, and then, you know, they get their prize in the end. That's kind of a lot of earlier romance, I would say, generally kind of male focused in that regard. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, yeah, and I guess that's a good point. It's like this does flip gender roles on his head, right? The guy he cleans for a living. He's good at it, and the lady's the CEO and the real kind of business moneymaker type, you know? So it's like, I think this is like the opposite of classic old school gender roles.
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but that's a good deal. I have definitely seen a good handful of series that are basically essentially like, this guy is a businessman and he's too busy, so, you know, hire someone to clean for him and he falls in love with the cleaner, right? Like, I've seen that a handful of times. That is definitely sort of an older classical style thing. So it definitely does flip those on its head. I think it feels less like, oh, we're doing a full, you know, subversion or flipping these things, because it's like, okay, but Toradora did this 15 years ago. Like, exactly this, right? Like, the girl is, you know, she's maybe not successful, but she's rich from her parents, and the guy is, you know, poor and lives next to her in a cleaner. So it's like, we've already done this. Like, this role has already been reversed. You are just taking it from Toradora. So,
well, you know, I guess its popularity shows, I don't know, it shows me how good Toradora is sometimes.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Anything else? Any other thoughts on Himaten?
Not really.
Cool. Really quick, there's not a whole lot to say about this one. This is the new series from oh gosh, what's the guy's name? I always forget it. Yamamoto Souichirou. This is the forehead guy.
Takagi author.
Yeah. Takagi, and those other things.
Ayumu makes his move. When will Ayumu make his move?
Which all of those ended in the last like 12 months. They basically this author essentially ended like, I think 3 series in the span of like 18 months, maybe, and started this one. So we wondered what they were going to do, and they ended their 3 individual forehead girl series to make one series with 3 forehead girls in it. And this is this title of this is Mane Mane Nichi Nichi. Mane-san is like manager-san, so I don't know what Nichi means. There's some kind of wordplay here, like there is in most Japanese titles. Did you read this, Scoutum? Did you read any of these chapters? There's 4 of them, I think, out right now.
Okay, I only saw the first one out.
Okay. The first one is the weirdest one.
It is strange. It was like a teaser trailer.
Yeah.
For this manga, because I don't really know much about it.
So I read all 4 of them. I only have some pictures here from the first chapter. The first chapter just kind of introduces the 3 girls, and they do a weird like baseball bat spanking game. The next 3 chapters introduce kind of each girl individually, and then the guy that they have a crush on, or that has a crush on them. So it introduces kind of like 3 separate romance dynamics in the next 3 chapters. So the real kind of like opening to this is the first 4 chapters, which have been published, that you can go and check out. So it makes a little bit more sense if you read those chapters. Like the dark-haired girl here has like a childhood friend who's like desperately in love with her, and she's oblivious to it. The Gyaru kind of has a crush on a guy on the baseball team. And then the short-haired girl has like dated everyone on the baseball team is like her thing, which is kind of funny. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think this will be a little bit better than their previous works, just because there are multiple girls and multiple point of views. I think generally, like, I don't think that
that was the case in Takagi, but to a lesser extent, you know?
Yeah, and they were like introduced later, right? The sort of side romances and stuff.
Right.
Because the same thing happens in Yamamoto making his move. Ayumu making his move or whatever. The same thing happens there, right? You get side character romances introduced later. This one, I think, is kind of like from the get-go saying, like, we're going to have 3 characters, we're going to have 3 romances, they'll go at their own speeds, kind of multiple lead characters. It's pretty cute. And like, honestly, this like joke at the end of the first chapter where this guy's like, I don't know, maybe I should give up. Like, I still love baseball, but I don't know if I want to be on the team anymore. And he like walks around the corner and see the girls like making fun, like doing the spanking game. And he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, I definitely want to be on the baseball team. I learned how harsh this world is, which I thought that was kind of a funny joke. That is
a good gag. This was a weird first chapter. But I also liked it. And honestly, God, the character designs are just very good. I was going to say, this guy has great art and really like a unique individual style that you can really pick out. Really, the facial expression on this guy up here is great. And I think that I'm trying to remember the design of the guys, I think that all these girls have crush ons, I think is also maybe a little bit more improved. Like, I like the male designs of like the Takagi author, especially like Ayumu makes his move, because he doesn't really look like a classic anime pretty boy. He looks like he's very much like a fully built dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's like a big, tall, like, much different. And I think so. I mean, it's also like the good thing about this author's works is that you can miss like. You'd be like, oops, I forgot. I didn't read this for 3 weeks. It's like, who cares? Read the chapter. Cool. That's what we're doing. Like, doesn't really, this is one of those ones where it's like, it does not really matter if you miss a chapter or 2. You can just jump in whenever. And like, it's just a thing and you know where it's going and it's linear, I guess I would say.
I'd say so.
Yeah. So I think this was pretty good. I do think like, check out the chapters 2, 3, 4. I think they're a little bit better representation of what the series is going to be. Chapter 1, like I said, a little weird like baseball spanking game. They just kind of like abuse the new girl manager. But yeah, it's a cute one. Anything else on Mane Mane Nichi Nichi by Yamamoto Souichirou?
No, I had fun with that first chapter. It was a weird one.
Yeah. So we kind of were talking on romances, and I was like, I kind of like maybe want to bring this other one. So we got a couple of newer-ish romances that we wanted to talk about, just because a little bit of a romance thing. The first one that I wanted to bring up is the one in the middle there, which is Blooming Love by Daichi Kawada, which we talked about a couple months ago, maybe late last year, whenever it premiered.
The Drum Girl.
Yeah, this is Drum Girl and Artist Guy. This one continues, I think, to be really cute. It is a little slow and awkward, but it's definitely got that reiwa, like they are dating in like 19 chapters or something, right? And they've been dating Little bit of time skip. We just finished with an arc that I have this panel from here, where they like did some drum stuff, and her parents showed up, and they've like met each other's parents, and they were talking about it. That essentially ends with them doing the like calling each other by their given names, which is a big deal for some reason in Japanese culture. But I think this one is still really cute. I think the art is great. This one I think is popular. I think this one sells decently well, so I wouldn't be surprised to maybe next year see an anime come out if it continues. But
I like this one too. This is a good one, despite its like terrible title. I think it's like a solid series.
It does have like the most generic like blooming.
It's just very generic.
Yeah. I wonder. I bet the Japanese version is more wordplay puns. Gatum, tell me about. Okay, you told me this was called. I don't bring this up because I think this is really funny. You told me this is called. Yugami-kun doesn't need any friends. And then I looked it up and I said, I think it's funnier to go with what the official translation is, which is friendless Yugami. He does not have any friends. Tell me about that series.
The very literal translation. Yeah, it's actually, this is not new. It's
2 years old, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is it finished?
It ended a while ago, like maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago. Okay. But yeah, no, it's awesome. It's is it a romance? Yeah. Basically, it's this dude named Yugami. He claims he doesn't need any friends, and
is it the smug fucker in the middle on this?
He's smug, and he's kind of a prick.
I was going to say, because this guy in the middle of this cover on the right side here looks absolutely smug as hell, and if I saw him, I would assume that he didn't have any friends.
It's funny you pick up on the smugness just from this cover, because he is incredibly smug. He is a prick, but he's also a good dude. Somewhere you can identify the good dude in him. Basically, there's this girl in his class who sits next to him, and she understands him a little bit better than most. He's just this weird guy, and ultimately, he really doesn't need any friends. He's fine. He's doing good on his own, but he ends up being friends with the girl by the end of it, whether he admits it or not. And it ends kind of perfectly. Whether you want to see it as a romance or not is up to you. But I think anyone with reading comprehension can kind of get that this is a romance.
Yeah.
Ultimately. But it's just a really good series. It's a really well-written series about someone with a different perspective on human relationships, and understanding and appreciating that he just views the lens of friendship completely differently than society does. He is a smug prick throughout the whole thing, but he is like a lovable smug prick. I think the best part is that in any given situation, he ultimately does the right thing, but in the most, I don't know, like the most weird roundabout assholey way to do it.
Interesting. This is, for some reason, this is giving me vibes of like Great Teacher Onizuka or something, where he's kind of like a weirdo with a good heart that does things in a weird way, but also fixes problems. I don't know. Maybe I'm way off.
Onizuka's an idiot, right? Onizuka's an idiot. He's like a straightforward idiot. Yugami's not an idiot. He's competent. He's just weird. He's just a weird.
I'll have to check this one out because I haven't read this, but it sounds interesting.
It's really good. I'd say it's like a very solid manga. You should check it out.
And I don't think we've talked about it or heard about it, so it's good to get out there. The last one I wanted to bring up here is a newish one. This one has been around for maybe 2 months, maybe a little over 2 months now. But this is a series called, it has a long title because it's Japanese. It's Quite Late, but I've fallen in love with my childhood friend. And this is by, you might recognize the artist here is Yomu. They did Ganbare Doki-chan for years and years. I think they are like one of my favorite manga artists. Their mastery of expression and anatomy, I think, is like nearly unmatched in a lot of things. Like I absolutely love this author's art.
I think Doki had great art.
Okay, great art, yeah. And the expressions and all the girls and the outfits they wore and the fashion and all that stuff, like Yum, I think is amazing. And I think that this series is going to maybe be received a little bit better, might not be the right thing, but I think people are going to like this a little bit more because Yum is not writing this, right? Yum wrote Doki-chan, which is like, you don't see that guy's face until the last like 10 chapters of the series.
Yeah,
it's a very kind of like weird series
like,
in that regard.
I don't like Doki for that reason. Is like the expectation is that I am the guy, and that makes me weirded out.
Yeah, this is not
like
written by
self-insert.
So I think that this is better. And from what I've read of it, I like this so far. I mean, I think this is like really cute. We mentioned talking about Himaten, the sort of like, oh, I'm desperately in love with you, one-sided thing. This series is about this girl who has been like desperately in love with her childhood friend like her whole life. And the guy is a pretty like standard, generic, normal boy who doesn't, get it.
Self-insert, yeah.
It's a little bit of a self-insert, but he's more of just kind of like, I don't want to say blank slate, but he's not the point, right? The point is it's more about the girl like liking him and how does she deal with it. And there's a lot of like internal monologue and stuff from her. But I think this one is pretty decent and new, and I think people should check it out because again, I think Yam's art is awesome. So
yeah, honestly, it is such good art. I don't know. I can't relate or appreciate any romances really that have self-insert characters because ultimately I find that in order for a romance to stay interesting for me, the dude has to be interesting as well.
Yeah,
it can't just be the chick. Yeah.
So the author of this is their name is Maruto Fumiaki, and this is the author of Saikano, so Saine Heroine no Sodekaita, which is like what is it called? Like My Boring Girlfriend or something? How to Raise a Boring Girlfriend, which is an anime, which is a very popular, I think, a light novel.
Say about your own girlfriend.
Yeah, she has like a personality disorder is probably a bit too severe to say.
Tell me about her personality disorder.
No, she's one of those like how would you describe the main girl in that series? She's the sort of like deadpan character.
Okay.
And they ascribe that as like quote unquote boring. But I watched that anime and that's a really well written like romance series. It reminds me of like a better version of oh crap, what's the incest one? Like my little sister can't be this cute, whatever that one is.
I hated that. Yeah.
I mean, okay. Hot take. That is an extremely well written series that somehow ends in the most like catastrophic way. Like the guy like has a crush on and dates a different girl. I feel like we've talked about this before. Like has a crush on and dates a different girl. It's not his sister. And then the end of it is like, no, I'm desperately in love with my sister. Let's go on a date. I don't know. Anyways, yeah. The Saikano, My Boring Girlfriend, is like a better version of that where no one is related in the story. And they like start a thing. They start a group to like make a light novel game and they have like different girls and stuff involved. But this is the same author there. So I think that's really encouraging because I think that author is maybe not the best writer in the world, but like substantially better than I think Doki-chan was written. So
yeah.
So I have pretty high hopes for this, and I'm really enjoying it. It's fun because the main girl, you get to like I said, you get a lot of her inner monologue, and she's like an absolute goofball and absolutely head over heels for the MC, which is like really fun to watch. That's something that Sono Bisque Doll, like my dress up girlfriend, whatever that series they decide the English title was. That one is really funny when the main character girl is like, I'm so in love with this guy who makes dolls in my cosplay. It's like that was a very cute angle of that series. So
I agree. Yeah.
Cool. That's it for romances, Gautam. I'm behind on this one, so you're gonna have to fill me in. Let's go over to our cute little demon Princess Doe. What's she been doing this week?
It's been consistently good. They are still stuck in heaven. They are all demons for context. But Doe is so cute that she wins everyone's hearts always. And that's just the gag over and over again, but it works over and over again because it's very cute and fun.
Yeah.
Here they're still in heaven and they find a bunch of like beast people, like demi-human people. And their plight is that they can't get along. They don't know how to get along with the humans that live in heaven. And they're like, yeah, we're either too strong or we all have our own weird quirks and like intricacies and we hurt them and make them mad.
Hmm.
So Do's supervisor, I'm forgetting her name, basically is like, okay, yeah, let's just write up a contract and just like a ceasefire peace contract type thing. And then she looks at them and realizes they're all idiots and then says, never mind, let's try something else. Let's just send a letter. And the goat eats the letter prior to this, like after this. So they're like, let's offer something as like a peace offering. The gorilla instantly breaks the peace offering. And then Do's like, here, you haven't squished this apple yet. Here, go back. And the gorilla instantly squishes the apple. And like it's funny because like they're all just so they were right. They are very stupid. So it's like they can't get along because they're these bizarre weirdos.
Yeah.
And then ultimately Do and them start playing. You know, they just start hanging out, having fun. Instead of talking about like this peace letter they were going to write. And I love this page because like the Do's like supervisor lady is like, it's like they have no control and are attention deficit. Yeah. And that's like the perfect description of them in this chapter. It's like they have the worst ADHD known to man. Mm-hmm. It's like they are just dumb and freaking out all the time and doing random stuff. And then Do decides, hey, you know what? Let's just go ask them to play and have a good time. And essentially, let's be
cute. Let's play a lot. Let's be cute in front of the humans, and then it will be fine.
And you know what? That's a good point. If animals decided to play in front of me, I would think that's really cute and have a good time. So. Yep.
And that's how Do fixes every problem. It's like, let's just go be cute and the problems will be resolved. And then she is cute and the problems are resolved. And that's the manga. So
you know what? And that's how it works in real life too.
That's true.
So yeah, that is the chapter. It's a quick one, but it's a lot of fun as always.
Yeah. I need to go through and just like get this series. It's comforting and cute. So
yeah, it's a very easy read. Yeah.
Cool. Anything else here?
Nope.
Cool. Let's go over news. There's only a little bit this week. We got a announcement of a solo leveling manhwa sequel spinoff was announced. So this is based on the novel by Dahl, who I believe is the original light novel author for Solo Leveling. This revolves around Sung Jinwoo's son, Sung Soo-ho, who follows in his father's footsteps as a hunter. I'm wondering, I brought this up because I have one key question. It's because we both read Solo Leveling when it was being published.
Yeah.
Who's the mom? Which female character girl with no personality did they get to marry Sung Jinwoo at the end of the series?
There was this like
it's the hunter girl, right? The blonde one, yeah.
Who had like an incredible olfactory sense.
Was that her power?
It was just something that was a thing about her. I don't know.
Well, she was introduced in the last third of the series, right, or the last half,
something like that, last half. There was like another girl at the very beginning that just got written out of the story. Like
fridged harder than I have almost ever seen a girl get fridged in a series before. Like insane how she's just like, it's dangerous here. I'm going to live somewhere else. And then she never appears ever again. And that's like chapter 15 or something.
It was such a hard fridge too, because
it was insane.
Because it's inexplicable what she meant by that. Because she is the one who's going into dungeons voluntarily. And then she's like, "Yeah, this neighborhood's pretty dangerous. I'm moving." It's like,
yeah. Well, also, and she was like very clearly set up, like, oh, this is the love interest of the guy, childhood friend. He grew up with this girl, and he's grown into a super badass now. Let's see what happens. And then she was just like, "Nope," writing her out.
I don't know what happened there. Like, what the fuck happened?
I mean, what happened is this author, for all his boons in cool action and interesting kind of lore and powers, absolutely cannot write a woman to save his life. Like, I don't think there are any girls in this series that were well written. Maybe the demon girl was she was kind of fun, but again, she got written out after, I don't know, her chapters were over. So,
well, she didn't even move. She was just like, okay, I'll stay in hell and I'll see you soon. And he's like, yeah, I will see you when I see you. And then he never goes back.
Yeah. So I thought it was funny that if they're doing more manhwa, if it turns out to be the same creators doing that, maybe I'll check it out. I do think the art in Solo Leveling was pretty stellar. So
it was, and I think that was the main appeal. I don't really see a spin-off doing well though. I don't know. Spin-offs never do well, I feel like.
I think it'll do well enough. I mean, Solo Leveling was insanely popular while it was coming out, so
I think it was just lightning in a bottle, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that this will start high. Well, I think that we'll have to see if it keeps its popularity, because my guess is Volume 1, you know, all the Solo Leveling fans will go buy it, and then if it's good, they'll keep buying it, and if it's not good, they will not keep buying it. So I think that's the call
I
here.
understand introducing oh, this is the main character's son Boruto, and he's also doing stuff.
Yeah.
It's like we like the main character so much that we're interested in seeing his family and stuff. That's the appeal. But is Sung Jin Woo really that much of a character that we like, that we want to see what his son is up to nowadays? I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, also, like, yeah, I mean, I don't know. How much is there to talk about here? It's like, does he pass his power set to his son? If not, why is it interesting? Like, that's like kind of the interesting part of the story. I don't know. You got other news though. Komi Can't Communicate has been announced to be entering its final arc. So not a whole lot of Komi left. This is interesting. We maybe need to just like, well, I don't know. Honestly, like the next few weeks for us on this podcast, I think maybe not next week, but the week after is the last chapter of My Hero. Maybe 3 weeks from now. But it's like we're going to get a bunch of final chapters. So like,
yeah, we are.
Like it's weird because we spent kind of the last like 4 months doing like a bunch of chapter ones, like almost every week. Like I don't think we ever went more than 1 week between episodes here without doing a brand new chapter one or two brand new chapter ones or 3. And I think we're about to get into, I think the second half of this year is going to be just like series ending. Like Shueisha has like, this is a Shueisha series. My Hero Academia is ending. Jujutsu Kaisen is ending this year. There was a bunch of others that I think got announced that were also ending. So yeah, like Shueisha, I think is losing like 5 heavy hitters, like 4 or 5 heavy hitters, like this year. So I'll be interested to see, because Komi, like, I don't think it's been very good for a couple of years now, like 4 years maybe.
I wouldn't even know. I don't. Yeah. Like I haven't read it. I haven't thought about it.
I did, but every once in a while I'll be like, let's see what's going on in Komi, and I'll read the chapter, and it's usually like 6 to 8 pages long, and it's a random side character thing, and it's like,
I have to wonder about its popularity in Japan, because I have
it still
never
sells
seen
really
such.
Well.
It does it? Okay, I've never seen such a drop off in popularity for the Western audience.
Maybe it doesn't sell as well as it like at its peak, which was maybe like 4 or 5 years ago with the confession they actually started dating or whatever, maybe 3 years ago, but. Yeah, I still think it sells pretty well. I still see it show up in like top 20, top 30 Shoseki sales, so it's still there. But yeah, I'll be interested to see.
Anime was pretty, so okay.
Anime was popular, and I think that the early, like honestly, the first like Komi's pretty decent, kind of like up until the confession and stuff, and it still has like some decent moments, but yeah, it's not.
Well, I think there's like a stark difference in quality, even in the art. Like, I think early Komi was genuinely good. I think it was popular for a reason.
Yeah. So we'll see how that goes when it ends. I also wonder if it's like, does entering its final arc mean like 3 months, a year? Is it One Piece? Does its final arc mean 5 years? One Piece will end in 5 years. Report from Oda in 1999.
I have no earthly idea, but I don't know. I also won't remember about this.
Yeah, it fell off. We'll say it. Next thing we have Spider-Man Octagirl coming, physical publication of the West. We need to catch up on this one. Are you keeping up to date? I fell behind.
I'm not caught up, but I really like Spider-Man Octagirl.
I did too, and I fell behind on it.
Dude, actually, I am caught up. I
need to catch up. I think I'm like 6 or 7 chapters behind. I mean, it's very good. This is the duo who did My Hero Academia Vigilantes, which is Betancourt, and I can't remember the other one's name, but I always remember Betancourt because it's a weird name. But yeah, that's coming physical release in the West, which is great. I think that having a physical comic for something that is like, oh, you're into manga, anime, and Western comics, which I think there's a pretty decent overlap there. I think that's a good thing, and people might actually pick it up, and it's really good. So yeah,
and it has like an amazing iteration of Doc Ock. It's like. Man, I think the series has a lot of heart, like the perfect amount of heart for any Spider-Man fan to really sink their teeth into and enjoy.
Yeah, and lots of cool kind of deep cut side characters. Yeah, I think it's really great. All right, here's the big news. Here's the big announcement. I wish I had a soundboard that I could do some horns or something on. Rent a Girlfriend season 4 getting adapted. You know what this means. This is the cuck arc. This is the infamous picture of him floating in the pool with an erection, imagining the girl he has a crush on getting railed by his rival. That's coming in season 4. Yeah, let's go.
What is the need? Like, what is the need for that?
I feel like, did we cover that on the podcast? I feel like we might have, or talked about it early on.
I think we've talked about it before because the series is a mess.
Yeah,
but
because I read basically up through this arc, they go to like a resort, like a pool resort type thing, and it's honestly like a pretty good arc overall, even though it has those moments in it. So I'll be curious to see how people receive it. I mean, speaking of, like, does something stay up in popularity? Rent a Girlfriend is like immensely popular. It's sold like 15 million units or something.
I'm convinced people only like this to hate it.
No, I think, okay. Do you know how like people really like reality TV where it's like manufactured drama and like, oh my gosh, so much bullshit, or like soap operas? Like the reason that people like reality TV and soap operas is the same reason you like Rent a Girlfriend. Like, it is manufactured, like stupid, like it is people being stupid bullshitters. Why won't you just do the smart thing? Why won't you just talk? Like, why are you planning behind people's backs, or whatever? It's essentially the same catharsis you are getting from those types of shows that's in Rent a Girlfriend. And I think the art is really good in Rent a Girlfriend is the other thing. Like, this guy can draw some, pretty anime women. Like, I think that's indisputable. So,
but why is this guy getting like a Hardy by the pool?
There's a deep-seated insecurity in the main character, and it is. We'll see. I'm interested to hear, just to get on every week while this is airing and see what Twitter has to say about when it gets there. Because someone will do, like, I guarantee you the episode will air 4 hours later. It'll be like a deep analysis in, I think his name is Kazuya. Yeah, Kazuya. It's like a deep analysis of Kazuya's like insecurities, why he got this erection in the pool, and it's like a thread, like 1/36. It'll be this fucking Twitter thread of like, here's all the times that he's been insecure and why he does this and all the things he thinks about.
Here's Kazuya's top 10 erections.
Maybe I'll be the one to do it. If nobody else does it, I will be like
You're going to do Kazuya's top 10 erections?
No, I will do the explanation of Kazuya's character and why the erection is an important character growth moment or something. I don't know.
I'd appreciate it if you didn't, because
probably don't want that attention.
I'm associated with you by proxy, and I would be embarrassed if anyone asked me about that.
That's true.
I can't be in public talking about the Kazuya cuck arc, man.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, there's more news.
Think about the chicks.
There's more news. Viz Media, so one of the largest both physical and digital publishers of manga in the West, has bought the rights to RWBY. That's RWBY. That's the series from Rooster Teeth.
Now defunct.
Yeah, now and it's funny because near where I live, there is a like Rooster Teeth park, like for I live near a children's hospital, and there's like a Rooster Teeth like children's hospital park thing in there. Anyways, I walk by it like
they funded the park.
Yeah, I walk by it occasionally. I look at it. Right, yeah. They like funded a park for children at the hospital. And so I walk by it occasionally, and I'm like, oh man, Rooster Teeth. But yeah, I'm curious what they'll do here. I know that they had that anime a couple of years ago, maybe last year or 2 years ago, that seemed really well animated. But RWBY's always kind of struggled with story and characters for me. So I wonder if they will do a manga for this. Is kind of why I added this. I think RWBY would be pretty ripe for a decent, I mean, it has identifiable characters, kind of a cool world. Just the general writing kind of failed it when I watched 4 seasons of this, by the way, like years ago, of course. But
so I wonder if character design in action, right, for RWBY.
Yeah, super good character designs, like on the level of like Hori, I would say, like My Hero character design level. So I wonder if they do a manga. I'll keep an eye on that. And then the last thing on the news here, Haru Itagaki's Sanda has announced to be getting a anime adaptation. We did not talk about this last week, I don't believe. So
yeah, cool.
Yeah, they made it. I think maybe I sent you the picture, but the announcement made it look way cooler than the actual manga is ever that cool. They like put him in like, I don't know, like a Power Ranger suit with a cape, and you're like, wow, that Santa looks awesome. And it's like, yeah. This is a weird ass series.
It's very bizarre, and I don't think I gave it a proper shake, but I'm not sure if I like it.
It was bizarre to a level where it wasn't. I didn't want to give it any more chance than it got, because I feel like we both read, I don't know, like what, 10 or 12, maybe 15 chapters of it. And it's just like, it's just weird, man. Like I like too much for stuff.
Me. I don't mind that this high schooler turns into this old man.
Yeah, that wasn't the weird part. That's the least weird part about it, is that this guy is like essentially like the Hulk, but Santa Claus.
It's the characters that were weirdly unlikable.
The main character girl was weird.
Yeah, she wanted to kill Santa. That's her goal.
And the art is just, I mean, like Haru Itagaki's art is very unique. And
on paper, this is sounding funnier than how I read it.
Yes.
On paper, describing it out loud sounds like it should be up my alley a little bit.
Yeah.
But
this sounds wild and weird, and you read it and you're like, it's just weird.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean, a good anime adaptation can sort of change and update a lot of things to maybe make it a little bit more palatable. So, yeah, we'll have to see on that one.
Either way, I'm happy to see it. I like Haru Itagaki, and I like how weird she is at all times. I think Beastars is amazing. So, I hope after Sanda, her next venture is also bizarre and strange.
Yeah, because this ended, I think, 2 weeks ago, or maybe this week.
Yeah, just recently, right?
Really recently. So that's another one that ended. Speaking of all things that ended. Cool. I think that's it for the news. Let's do one more thing. What else are we doing? I spent the last week or so rereading Yomi no Tsugai. I bought all the English physical volumes available, which I think is only 4. God, Gautam, it's so good. I cannot even... There's only like 31 chapters of this now, I think, right? Like 2.5 years or so of publication, a little over 2.5 years of publication. It's so good. I like cannot, it's hard for me to fathom something that is so like, it's funny, it's cool action, it has neat, like the world building is awesome, the characters are great, the main character is like the most proactive main character I think I've ever seen in like a shonen seinen like manga. Is so like it's so fucking good, man. Like I'm so ready for this to get an anime so that people will start actually paying attention to it. It's so good.
You.
Yeah. Cause it's like, I didn't realize how fast stuff like, I guess because it's monthly, like reading it monthly, I think is the most difficult thing about it, right? Is like, and that's sort of why I like fell off it around a year ago and then I had to go back and catch up. But like, man, reading it, volume to volume is just, it's paced like so perfectly. It's like, I don't know, man. It's just so good. Like it's like, I don't know. Arakawa is like a fucking master. Like she's so good. This is an everything series, which is how I always like to talk about it, where it's like some series are, really good at like One Punch Man is really good at action and it's kind of funny. It's like actual plot writing and stuff is like, whatever. It's just okay. Arakawa is good at everything. Like all of her writing is good. All of her world building is good. Her action is great. Everything is cool. Her villains are so good. Like the villains in this one are particularly interesting because there's so many different factions and you think a faction is bad, but they're like all the factions are bad and all the factions are good at the same time. And I have a sneaking suspicion that the main character I think might end up being the big bad guy. We might literally be following the bad guy's rise to power in this one. I don't know. Maybe. That's my theory. It's so good. I just can't get on like rereading it. Just like solidified the point of like, yes, this is legitimately like one of the best things being published right now. And it sucks that no one's paying attention. But I'll keep preaching it.
Bruce is out here like Rorschach.
I literally will keep preaching
sign where he's just ranting and raving. But yeah. I believe you. Someday the world will believe you.
I think I say it every time, but it's like the second this gets an anime adaptation and it's, by Bones or whoever, people are going to be like, oh my God, it's like, this is spiritual successor to Full Metal Alchemist.
Who did FMA? Was it Madhouse?
I thought it was Bones who did FMA Brotherhood.
I think you might be right. I would honestly say Bones is the best in the
Bones,
biz.
yeah.
So, that sounds like a match made in heaven then.
Yep. Here's my issue is that I don't know if Arakawa will agree to have one of her series adapted before it's like mostly finished. Just from
FMA 2003.
Yeah, after the old FMA one, but also the anime industry has changed a little bit and people are like more okay. Like it can be 2 years between seasons, like, and we can get, and there's probably enough here for like maybe a season and a half, maybe 2 seasons, 30 chapters. So, get a season, wait 2 years. 2 years is, 24 new chapters. So, maybe I think that people are, I don't think anime does anime original endings anymore. Like, I just don't think that they do that. Unless they are completely changing what they're doing or they're inserting, like, they'll do anime original episodes or like scenes and stuff. I think that still happens. But like, I think anime studios have really gone away from like, oh yeah, we'll adapt this thing and then we'll just change it the ending and do whatever we want. Which I know happened to like
Trigun. It made more sense for Full Metal Alchemist 2003 as well because Arakawa probably needed the PR boost at the time, but now she's just a legend. Everyone knows who she is.
Yeah,
I don't think she needs any help for publication or marketing. Right?
Yeah, it's insane that like, so the last chapter of this came out like about a month ago. I don't think I ever saw it hit Reddit. I didn't see anything about it on Twitter. And then the latest volume came out like last week and is like the number 2 best-selling volume in Japan. And it's like, that's just like the bone in my tooth is like, the stick in my,
snake in your boot?
The snake in my boot? Yeah. The issue I have is like the massive despair, like I have the same rant. You can go back to the last time I talked about this. It's the author of Full Metal Alchemist, the now second highest rated anime of all time, is writing a new series that is in the same kind of vein as Full Metal. And it's the second highest selling thing in Japan when it releases a volume. And like literally no one in the West is paying attention to this. And I think I made a post about Yomi no Tsugai somewhere and I had like one person on Twitter whose name was like Yomi no Tsugai superfan, like comment and like it and follow me. And it was like, oh, I found the other Yomi no Tsugai fan in the West.
Have they ever considered not calling it Daemons of the Shadow Realm?
Yeah, that's a disappointing thing, but It'll be okay because I can hear in my mind them going to commercial break in Japanese. And, in Japanese, Full Metal Alchemist was what, like something Renkinjutsu, whatever. But like, the like Full Metal Alchemist. Full Metal Alchemist. Like, yeah, it isn't quite as good with like Daemons of the Shadow Realm. Like that sounds stupid. But like I can hear them saying like Yomi no Tsugai, which is like a cool, yeah.
It's actively terrible.
It's pretty bad.
It's actively just a terrible, terrible title.
Yeah,
which is a shame because Full Metal is a very cool title.
Yeah, and it captures like none of the nuance of the fact that like it's like a twins, series about twins and duality and like night and day and light and dark. And I mean, there's this whole dynamic of like Yuru, the main character here, has a power of seal, and his sister has the power of break. And yeah,
we have talked about this like 8 times.
Yeah, I know. I'm repeating the same points. Anyways, we're done. Go read it. It's amazing. It's still good. Gauge, what have you been doing?
It is. Yeah. I honestly, I think it's just a marketing gap on the Americans. I think it's like people just don't know about it. They don't know it exists. Like I think if they knew,
it does monthly, and monthly series generally just don't grab on quite as hard.
FMA was monthly. I think you're right though. I think anime will fix this.
It was, but it was also a time where Western manga reading was like a 100th of the size that it is now. Right?
Yeah.
So. Anyways,
on my end, I'm playing through Chrono Trigger for the first time. I figured that I should finally give it a go. I never played it before, or I don't know anything about it. I gotta say, it's fucking great.
Yes.
It's hard to believe that this is like 30 years old.
Oh my god!
Because of how good everything looks. Like the the small animations, the enemies moving around in combat, like if there's, it's just like really fascinating how much effort was put into like the enemy AI and animations.
Yeah.
Especially for that time. And as story goes, it's so fast paced. Like the characters are all pretty surface level, but that's fine because they are not the sum of their parts. You know, it's like, or they're more than the sum of their parts is the saying. It's just like really, really fun going through time, doing all of their little stories and how it all culminates into the main quest. It's like they're all incredibly different and they all have different reasons for fighting in a way that makes sense to me. It's like none of them are just like random side additions like some RPGs feel. Yeah, I don't know. Chrono Trigger is very good.
It's
but
great.
I guess that's not surprising to any gamer, right?
Yeah, I think you are preaching to the choir here. I think we like Chrono Trigger to me is like the gold standard of a JRPG of the time. Like I think like you mentioned, the sprite art and animation and stuff, like people are literally still using Chrono Trigger as inspiration for games like Sea of Stars that came out. Sea of Stars came out and they were like, we wanted to make like a Chrono Trigger like game. And they like looked at that. And it's like, 3 years later.
It's bizarre that they're like, it feels like one of the first ones that do that style of combat because it's just very fun combat. Well,
and also like these are character designs by Toriyama. And
totally,
in my opinion, I think this is his best designed, like cohesive work ever. Like I think these are more unique and a little bit more mature and a little bit more different than a lot of the other stuff he's done. Like it also lets him do characters like, is the robot just called Robot?
He's called Robo.
He's Robo, yeah. Toriyama was like really good at vehicles. We mentioned this when we talked about after his passing earlier in the year. Like the dude draws like the coolest cars and vehicles ever, and like his mechanical stuff is really neat. And I feel like people are like, draws. Yeah, all of his tech stuff is like super cool. His like sci-fi angle stuff is so great, and he kind of became, I don't know, like siphoned into the fantasy angle with Dragon Quest, and he just like didn't get to show off his sci-fi tech design prowess very much, and I think he really gets to in Chrono Trigger because you go to the future. Robo's there. I love Robo's design. He's like what a great robot design, and all the other robots there too are like designed around him. I like Luca. I think her sort of like mid-tech.
Yeah, Luca's sick.
Her mid-tech stuff is really interesting. The design of Chrono Trigger.
But my favorite character so far is Frog, and honestly, I like his writing so much because it's like refreshing. Because currently everything subverts old tropes or subverts itself, or it's like a meta subversion on a subversion. Frog is just a frog who's also a noble and honorable warrior played completely straight.
Yeah.
And he's he's great. He's so charming.
Yeah. His tragedy is he was turned into a frog. He's the exact same person. Like, that's like nothing else.
He doesn't even care that he's turned into a frog.
Yeah, he's just
still
like,
out there trying his best. Yeah, it does like the frogginess of him doesn't affect him. He has a different crisis, you know? But
yeah. I mean, this game is great. I haven't, it's been years since I played it. I played it on I want to say the DS or the Game Boy Advance version last, but yeah, it's great. I mean, it's easily, I would say, in the competition, if not winning half or more of the competitions of like the best JRPG of the 90s, like pre 2000. It's like Chrono Trigger,
I get it.
Final Fantasy 7, like maybe 9, maybe 6, but like, yeah, Chrono Trigger, preach to the choir. It's great. It's awesome. I'm glad you're enjoying it.
Yeah, me too.
You'll have to let me know when you get towards the end.
It's aged so well.
And you get
we'll do. I think I'm like 70% done with it. So
cool. Yeah, because this has a couple different endings. I don't remember exactly how to get all of them, but there's a bunch. So
yeah,
cool.
But cool. Yeah, that's about it for me.
Awesome. Let's go ahead and get out of here. Hey, thanks everybody for listening or watching. Don't forget to leave us feedback, comments, upvote, thumbs up, like, subscribe, follow, write an Apple podcast review, all those things. We really appreciate that kind of stuff. That's all we're really looking for here. Check out Twitter and Patreon, link in the description. Thanks again for being with us this week.
See you later.
And don't forget to read more manga.